How to fold an origami quadruped base. This base can be used as a starting set of folds for a great variety of four-legged animals. This video introduces an instructional technique called a progressive crease pattern. The entire crease pattern is shown as thin black lines. The red lines show the folded creases to be made at each new step. Dark black lines show folded creases made in earlier steps in the sequence. Step number 1. Valley fold a diagonal from the opposite corners across the entire paper, then unfold. Make sure to fold the corners very close together so they meet exactly in the corner. Step number 2. Fold another diagonal from the other corners. You can crease only the near ends, leaving the middle unfolded as shown here. This is so that you don't have unnecessary folds in the middle. However, if it's easier for you, you can fold all the way across. Step number 3. Fold angle bisectors between the long diagonal and the edge of the paper. Fold to meet the last line folded, which is the diagonal line. You might want to reposition the paper to make your folds that is easiest for you. Again, be very careful about forming the points. You can fold each diagonal all the way from the corner to the edge of the paper. However, I choose to fold from the corner to where it meets the last line segment so that I do not have additional unnecessary lines. The choice is yours, the way you wish to make that fold. Use the existing lines from the last two steps to create a dog-ear fold. Fold the center flap back and forth, creating the new lines shown here. Again, you are using existing lines. bringing the lines together and creating a dog ear. Once you have it in position, fold the flap that is created back and forth so you have lines. The flaps created by this fold are typically used as two of the legs for the four-legged animal. Frequently, these are used for the front legs of the animal, but they can also be used in the back, as back legs with a different configuration. Step number 5. Fold over the central point to the center line of the paper to create the creases shown. This is done to pre-crease the folds you will need for a sink. Make sure to crease these folds very sharply. You then unfold the paper and open the flap and go over the creases you've just made so that they're all formed in the same direction. This will create a triangle on each side of the paper. You then proceed to push in at the edges and pinch at each corner. Push in the center and pinch in each center. Do this on all 3 corners. You then find the center of the fold using the existing lines and collapse the paper down and together. Repeat this process, performing the sink on the other side of the paper. Remember, you're using existing lines to make the collapse. Step number 6. Lift up the top flap of the sink and use the sink line to create the crease shown. You may stick your finger inside and bend that sink back in the opposite direction to create a crease on the other side of the paper. Then close the flap back up, and you will have a diagonal line from the center of the paper to one corner. Repeat the process on both sides. Stick your finger in, lift that flap up, push it over the edge of the paper to create a line on the other side. You should have a diamond shape towards the end then, folded by the folds created. Step number 7. Use the new lines to open 2 flaps. Then bring the tip down and squash the paper flat. You notice how I stick my finger inside the paper to open the paper. Open it completely, then squash the tip down. Align the paper carefully as close as you can to the edges and flatten the paper. Step number 8. Fold over the 2 leg flaps to create a triangle that will become a pair of the legs for the quadruped. Create an angle on the paper, and this angle can be variable, but in this case I'm going to fold it pretty much perpendicular to the edge. You want to fold down the legs on both sides of the paper. You can have the legs in this position or flip it over so the legs are in a secondary position. In one instance, the legs are close together. In another instance, the legs are further apart, depending on the type of animal you wish to make. Most of the animals you make will be in this position. Flip the paper over and fold 1 flap at the rear to form the other pair of legs. Once you have the paper aligned, crease the legs down sharply. Step number 10. Fold out 1 flap to form a triangle for the tail. You can make your tail smaller or larger by folding out more or less of the tail exposed. You can even unfold the tail completely and use the entire triangular flap as part of the tail if desired. I'm going to fold it out so at about 1/3 of it is exposed at the end. This is folded out to whatever you want to make for your animal. It can be very small or it can be somewhat larger. Once you have positioned your tail, fold it down sharply. And to finish the model, simply fold the model in half. and you have completed the quadruped base. You can use this base to fold a great variety of animals such as horses, cows, pigs, zebras, turtles, and many other types of folds.